The room was filled with whispers, the soft hum of quiet conversations, and the occasional clink of alien communication devices. At the head of the table sat the representatives of the Galactic Council, each species more advanced and ancient than anything humanity could ever imagine. They came from all corners of the universe, having observed Earth for millennia with cautious, judgmental eyes. The discussion at hand was serious. The fate of humanity, that fragile and volatile species, was being debated. The Council had long kept a wary distance from Earth, cautious of the species' unpredictable nature. Now, however, something had changed. Earth had become a potential member of the Galactic Federation, a position that would grant humanity access to the vast technologies and alliances of the stars. Yet, the Council couldn't help but have doubts. After all, they had seen Earth's history, a story marked by war, pollution, survival, and the rise of a species constantly on the brink of self-destruction. An alien delegate, tall and slender, with skin shimmering like liquid mercury, stood up and addressed the room. His race, the Valori, was one of the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy. Their psionic abilities, allowing them to manipulate energy in ways humanity could only dream of. "I understand the importance of humanity's potential," the Valori delegate said in a voice that vibrated through the room. "But we must acknowledge their unpredictability. We've seen their propensity for violence, their destructive tendencies. We cannot afford to grant them full membership without understanding more about their species, Earth's most dangerous zones. They could be a reflection of their inherent instability." The room fell silent. The mention of Earth's dangerous zones had a certain weight to it, an unspoken truth that many in the room had avoided for centuries. The most lethal areas on Earth, places where life could not exist for long without risk, where the air could burn your lungs, where every step might mean your last. The Council had been debating the implications of these zones for weeks. How could they allow humanity to become a part of a peaceful federation when their planet was home to such deadly environments? At the back of the room, a human sat quietly, sipping a glass of water. Her name was Sarah, and she had recently been granted observer status in these high-stakes meetings. To the Council, she was just another human, another face among many. But Sarah had been through more in her 29 years than most species in the galaxy could comprehend. And unlike the rest of the human representatives who were nervously observing the proceedings, she was calm, almost detached, watching the Council's members as they argued over things far beyond their control. The Valori delegate continued, his voice growing more intense. "Consider Earth's dead zone," he said, "a place where nothing should survive. It's toxic, unpredictable, and the few expeditions that have been sent into the area never return. It's known across the galaxy as a graveyard for explorers." A series of nods rippled through the room. The dead zone was infamous among alien species. It was one of the most dangerous places on Earth, a region located on the outskirts of the Earth's temperate zones, where poisonous gas clouds roamed and violent weather patterns tore apart anything in their path. No one who had ventured in had ever come back to tell the tale. The galaxy's most experienced explorers, the ones capable of surviving the most hostile environments, had deemed it unapproachable. "The humans are reckless," said another delegate, this one a creature with multiple eyes and a mouth that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. "How can we trust them if they haven't even learned how to manage their own planet's dangers?" At that moment, Sarah set her glass down with a quiet clink. She stood up, breaking the tense silence. Her human appearance, average height, short, dark hair, and a weathered but confident expression, was nothing special. But her presence in that room had always been one that commanded attention. Her reputation was not as a diplomat, but as an adventurer, someone who had explored Earth's most lethal zones without fear. And as the conversation raged around her, she had become increasingly amused by the Council's inability to see what was staring them in the face. "Actually, I've been to the dead zone," she said casually. her voice cutting through the debate like a knife. A few heads turned, and several delegates stifled their laughter. One of them, the Karak, an insectoid species known for their brutality, chuckled darkly. "Really?" the Karak asked. "And how did you survive? The dead zone has been deemed uninhabitable by every race that's tried to explore it. Your kind is barely capable of surviving your own weather systems, let alone that place." Sarah smiled, her expression not one of arrogance, but amusement. She knew exactly what they were thinking, that a human, small and fragile compared to them, would never be able to survive Earth's most dangerous region. "Well, I didn't survive alone," Sarah said, her tone light. "It helps to know a thing or two about survival, but the real trick is knowing when to be prepared, when to stay, calm, and when to take a selfie." The room fell dead silent. "Excuse me?" the Valori delegate asked, his eyes narrowing in disbelief. Sarah didn't answer immediately. Instead, she pulled out her communicator, swiped it a few times, and showed the group a picture. It was a selfie, her face smiling brightly, with the unmistakable glow of a bubbling lava pool behind her. The room went still. Sarah casually passed the communicator around. The image displayed her, standing at the edge of the dead zone's most dangerous pool of lava, taking a perfectly timed selfie as molten lava poured out from cracks in the ground, glowing like fire, and flowing in waves behind her. "Is this, the dead zone?" a Zorith delegate asked, his voice filled with disbelief. Sarah nodded. "Yup, just wanted a selfie with the lava. I didn't think it'd be so bad. Honestly, the lava pool is one of the milder spots." The council members exchanged confused glances, and Sarah's comment hung in the air like a challenge. How could a human, someone so small and fragile, take a selfie in a place where entire alien expeditions had failed to return? Sarah's nonchalant attitude was baffling to the delegates. She was calm, almost playful, as if she had just taken a walk through a park, rather than stepped into one of the most lethal places on the planet. The human species had, until now, been seen as weak, overly aggressive, and prone to self-destruction. Yet here was Sarah, a living contradiction, seemingly unfazed by the danger around her, treating it like any other adventure. The silence lasted a few moments before the Valori delegate finally spoke. You've been there, and survived?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. "Multiple times," Sarah replied. "I've been to every dangerous place on Earth. Volcanoes, poison fields, the dead zone, you name it. I like to see what the universe thinks is too dangerous to survive. Seems like Earth's only dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, and if you're prepared for the chaos." The room was stunned. The alien species, each more advanced and powerful than humanity, looked at her with a mix of disbelief, confusion, and though none of them would admit it, fear. They had underestimated humanity's ability to survive the impossible. Earth, with all its chaotic, dangerous environments, had somehow bred a species capable of thriving in the worst of it. "I suppose you've earned a seat at the table," the Valori delegate finally said, still processing what he had just witnessed. Sarah grinned. "You bet I have." The delegates exchanged uncertain glances as the realization sank in. Humanity, once regarded as weak and unworthy, had just proven its true worth on Earth's deadliest grounds, no less. And thus, the story of humanity's entrance into the Galactic Federation began, not through diplomacy or advanced technology, but through one human's simple yet astounding ability to survive the planet's most dangerous places. A tourist who wanted nothing more than a selfie. The day after the council meeting, Sarah found herself the center of attention in ways she had never imagined. News of her casual survival in Earth's most lethal zones had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The image of her standing proudly in front of a molten lava pool, smiling as though she were on vacation, was now a viral sensation. Across countless species, The debates about Earth's place in the Galactic Federation had reached fever pitch. Some viewed her as a hero, that humanity had more to offer than anyone had imagined. Others were still skeptical, unsure if one human's success could truly speak for an entire species. But for Sarah, it was just another adventure, another day. In her mind, there was no real mystery to surviving Earth's dangerous zones. The trick was always the same: knowledge, preparation, and a little bit of luck. It was early in the morning when Sarah received an unexpected call. The voice on the other end was urgent, and from a stark contrast to her usual laid-back demeanor. It was the head of the Galactic Federation's Council on Earth Relations, a towering figure of green skin and bioluminescent markings, one of the Zurath species. His tone was both diplomatic and serious. "Ms. Sarah, we require your immediate presence," he said. "There's been a development following your extraordinary demonstration yesterday. The Federation believes you can assist us in resolving a matter of significant importance." Sarah raised an eyebrow. "What's up?" she asked, sitting up from her bed, adjusting the sleeves of her worn t-shirt. "It's Earth's dead zone," the Zorath delegate continued. "After seeing your survival, many of the other species have started debating whether or not Earth should be considered a threat to galactic stability. We need you to accompany us to the dead zone again. We need to better understand how Earth's environment can produce such unpredictable results." Sarah chuckled softly. "You guys really can't just take my word for it, huh?" "Unfortunately, no," the delegate said with a touch of humor in his voice. "The Council believes your first-hand experience may provide crucial insights. This time, we ask that you venture deeper into the dead zone. We'll be sending a small group of scientists and engineers from various species to accompany you, and we'll also have some safety measures in place." "Sounds like an adventure," Sarah said, grinning. "But if I'm going back there, I want to get another selfie. If I'm going deeper, I'm definitely going to need a better shot." The Zorath delegate's voice was more serious now. "This mission is not just about selfies, Ms. Sarah. We need answers. There are anomalies in the dead zone that cannot be explained by natural processes alone. We need to understand how such a place can exist, and what role humans may have in its survival." "Anomalies, huh?" Sarah tilted her head, suddenly more intrigued. "What kind of anomalies?" "We've detected strange energy readings, disruptions in the natural laws of time and space, areas where the environment seems to have a will of its own, almost as if it's reacting to any attempt to understand it. It's unlike anything we've ever seen." Sarah's curiosity piqued. "That sounds like something I'd want to see. All right, I'm in." The delegate's voice softened. "Thank you, Miss Sarah. We'll send a transport ship to pick you up within the hour. We'll need your expertise and your bravery." Sarah smiled. "I've got both. See you soon." After the call ended, Sarah began preparing for the journey. She wasn't nervous. This wasn't her first time venturing into dangerous territory. She had traveled through the harshest parts of Earth, survived in deadly climates, and found joy in navigating the wildest environments. But something about this mission felt different. The galaxy's greatest minds were watching, and there was a pressure now to show that humanity wasn't just lucky, had the strength, intellect, and tenacity to withstand whatever the universe could throw at it. As she packed her gear, boots, a rugged survival suit, high-tech tools, and of course, her trusty selfie stick, Sarah realized something she hadn't before. This wasn't just a vacation anymore. She wasn't just a tourist looking for a thrill. She was now Earth's ambassador, the face of humanity's potential in a galaxy that had long underestimated them. The transport ship arrived shortly, a sleek vessel piloted by a Zorath engineer who spoke little but gave Sarah a nod of respect. The journey to the dead zone was short, the silence between the two of them filled with unspoken thoughts. Sarah couldn't help but wonder what awaited her there this time. She had explored this area before, but she had always done so with a sense of humor. Now, She was heading back under the watchful eyes of alien species, and the stakes felt higher than ever. When they arrived at the dead zone's outer perimeter, Sarah felt a familiar twinge of excitement. The landscape before her was like nothing else on Earth. Miles of jagged rock, sulfurous air, and a deep, pulsating hum that seemed to emanate from the ground itself. It was as though the planet was alive, a living, breathing organism with a mind of its own. "Here we are," the engineer said, his voice strained with apprehension. "Be careful, Miss Sarah. This place is unlike any other on your planet. We've had reports of strange distortions, places where reality itself seems to bend." Sarah grinned. "That's why I love it." The first step she took into the dead zone sent a shiver of energy up her spine. The ground was uneven, cracked open by centuries of volatile activity. But Sarah's boots crunched down on the rock as she began walking with purpose, her gaze sharp and alert. The others followed, their strange alien forms silhouetted against the ominous horizon. They moved deeper into the dead zone, past fields of glowing moss, geysers of toxic gas, and swirling violent winds. Sarah led the way, carefully choosing each step. The air was thick with tension, but her experience and calmness reassured her companions. "Don't worry," she said, glancing over her shoulder at the nervous scientists. "We're just getting started." As they ventured further, the energy distortions began to grow more intense. Lights flickered, shadows stretched unnaturally, and the ground seemed to shift beneath them. Sarah's curiosity was piqued. She had never encountered anything like this before, not even in the wildest corners of Earth's toughest regions. Something was definitely different this time. Suddenly, the ground rumbled. A crack opened in the earth, and from it, a wave of energy shot up into the sky, causing the air to vibrate with a deep, resonant hum. Sarah steadied herself, her instincts kicking in as she reached for her communicator. "Okay, I think it's time for that selfie," she said, turning to the team with a mischievous smile. But before she could take out her phone, the ground beneath them began to quake violently. It was as if the dead zone itself was rejecting their presence. "Everyone, get back," she shouted, barely able to maintain her balance. The group scrambled, and as they retreated, Sarah's eyes remained locked on the shifting ground. She realized they weren't just in danger, they had stumbled upon something much larger than they had expected. Something alive, something that seemed to be growing, reacting to their presence. This wasn't just Earth's dead zone, this was something else entirely. The dead zone had never been more unpredictable. Sarah had trekked into its depths more times than she cared to count, but this was different. The ground beneath her feet shuddered again, a violent rumble that seemed to reverberate through the air itself. She steadied herself against a jagged rock, watching as the scientists behind her struggled to keep their footing. The alien crew had been nervous when they entered, but now, seeing the energy distortions increase, their unease had turned to full-blown panic. "Everyone, stay calm," Sarah called, her voice clear but steady, cutting through the rising tension. "I've been here before, but we need to stay together and move carefully." The group continued onward, Sarah at the front, the alien crew following behind. The energy surges were getting stronger, now brighter flashes of light, sharper rumbles of the earth, and the unmistakable sense that something much larger than their party was waking up. The ground beneath them cracked and groaned, as though the dead zone itself were alive, stretching and shifting in its own strange way. The humans had never fully understood the origin of the dead zone. It was a place no one truly studied, a region where the laws of nature seemed to lose their grip. Scientists and explorers from various species had ventured into it over the centuries, only to meet strange fates, disappearances, unexplained deaths, equipment malfunctioning in bizarre ways. The few survivors told tales of glimpses into alternate realities, odd spaces that seemed to warp both time and matter, and distorted landscapes that defied all natural explanation. For most of the galaxy, it was a place to be avoided. But to Sarah, it was home. Not literally, of course, but she had always been drawn to its mysteries. The energy fields that emanated from the core of the dead zone were nothing like anything else on Earth. Some said it was a fault line, others a breach in the fabric of space-time itself. Sarah wasn't sure what it was, but she had learned to respect it, and more importantly, to survive it. As the group pushed deeper into the zone, they came across the first of the anomalies. It wasn't much at first, a slight distortion in the air, like heat rising off pavement. Only the air was cold, and the flickering shimmer wasn't from the sun. But then, the ground in front of them began to ripple like water, and Sarah's breath caught in her throat. "Hold up," she said, signaling for the others to stop. "There's something ahead." The scientists and engineers huddled around, their eyes wide as they stared at the strange ripples in the earth. The phenomenon wasn't just an illusion, it was real. Sarah had never seen anything like it before. Whatever this was, it wasn't just a natural occurrence. The ground was literally folding and unfolding on itself, like time and space were bending, looping in ways that seemed physically impossible. One of the Zorath scientists, his multiple eyes blinking rapidly in confusion, stepped forward. "What is this?" he asked, his voice tense with both excitement and fear. Sarah stepped closer, feeling the strange energy that seemed to hum beneath her feet. She wasn't sure what it was, but something inside her urged her to keep moving. The tension in the air was palpable, like they were on the brink of something immense. She had crossed into the heart of the dead zone countless times, but this felt different. This felt like it was alive, watching them. Without warning, the ground before them split open, and a large stone pillar shot up from the depths of the earth, jagged and glowing with an unnatural light. It rose higher and higher, twisting and turning in impossible angles. Sarah stepped back, a mixture of awe and caution flooding her mind. "Everyone stay back," she called, holding her hand out. The alien team froze, their eyes trained on the pillar. It glowed brighter, and the humming sound became a low rumble that vibrated in Sarah's chest. And then, just as quickly as it had appeared, the pillar stopped, suspended midair, as if waiting for them to act. The air was thick with energy now, static electricity filling the atmosphere. It was as though they were standing at the center of an enormous, living circuit board. Sarah took a deep breath, her instincts telling her that something massive was about to happen. She had seen the dead zone's power before, but she had never seen anything like this. "Back to the ship," she said urgently, motioning for the others to retreat. "Something's wrong here. We need to move, now." The alien team hesitated, but only for a moment. The Zorath delegate nodded, and the rest of the crew began to follow Sarah's lead. They turned and quickly made their way back toward their transport, the ground still rumbling beneath their feet, the glowing pillar in their wake, flickering like an ancient warning. Sarah felt a strange sense of both unease and exhilaration, the kind she always felt when she encountered something truly unknown. This was no ordinary phenomenon. This wasn't just Earth's dead zone. Something far greater than anything she had ever anticipated was stirring beneath the surface as they made their way back to the ship. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they had just scratched the surface of something monumental. The Council had sent them here to study the dead zone, but this was far beyond anything they could have imagined. Back at the ship, the alien scientists were scrambling to run diagnostics on their equipment, their faces etched with both fear and wonder. Sarah stood in the doorway, watching them work, knowing they were in way over their heads. She wasn't sure what had just happened, whether it was a glitch in the system, a freak natural occurrence, or something far more sinister. But one thing was certain: Earth's dead zone was hiding secrets that no one, not even the galaxy's most advanced species, could fully comprehend. "Are we safe here?" one of the Zorath engineers asked nervously. "For now," Sarah said, her voice calm but filled with an unsettling certainty. "But I don't think we're done yet." The hum of the dead zone's energy was still ringing in her ears, and she knew the worst was yet to come. The ship's engines hummed softly as it hovered above the cracked earth, but the tension inside the vessel was palpable. Sarah sat with her arms crossed, eyes fixed on the small window that offered a clear view of the chaotic, warped landscape of the dead zone below. The strange energy signatures were growing stronger, more erratic, and she could feel the electric charge in the air. The other members of the team were tense, whispering in their various languages, their eyes occasionally darting to Sarah, as though she were their only tether to sanity in this bizarre, unforgiving environment. "What do we do now?" one of the Zorith engineers asked nervously, his multiple eyes fixed on the glowing crack in the earth where the pillar had once stood. "We've never seen anything like this. This isn't just a natural phenomenon. There's something alive down there." Sarah shifted in her seat, rubbing her chin thoughtfully. She wasn't sure what to make of it either, but something deep inside told her they were only beginning to uncover the true power of the dead zone. It wasn't just a place on Earth, no. It was something far more ancient, perhaps far more dangerous than anything humanity had faced before. And this, she realized, wasn't just about survival. This was about discovery. A discovery that could change everything. "Stay alert," Sarah finally said, her voice steady. "We need to go down there. We need to find out what that thing is, and we need to do it before the energy signatures get worse. We need to be careful," one of the Valori scientists cautioned, adjusting his glowing suit. "Our sensors are picking up fluctuations in the temporal field. It's like time is bending down there. Reality itself might be shifting." Sarah raised an eyebrow at that. Temporal field. Shifting reality. She had no idea what that meant in scientific terms, but she knew one thing: this was no longer just a dangerous landscape. The dead zone wasn't just a physical challenge. It was messing with the very fabric of existence. The team readied themselves, donning their protective suits and equipment. As they prepped for the descent, Sarah pulled out a small handheld device and checked her communications. Earth's Federation was monitoring them, but their contact with the team had been sporadic. The interference from the dead zone was likely causing problems. She had no idea how much longer they would be able to maintain communication with the outside world. They were on their own. When the doors to the ship opened, the heat hit them. First, the air was thick with sulfur and something metallic. As they stepped onto the surface of the dead zone, Sarah took a deep breath, her boots crunching against the jagged rock. The ground beneath them seemed to pulse, as though it were alive, and the air hummed with energy. The team spread out, each member setting up equipment to scan the area, but Sarah didn't waste time with gadgets. She trusted her instincts more than anything else. The dead zone to her was like an old friend, a place that had never betrayed her, always offering new challenges. But today, it felt different. This wasn't just about surviving. It was about understanding the mystery that lay at the core of Earth's most dangerous location. She could feel the weight of the unknown pressing in on her. "We need to head towards the epicenter of the disturbance," Sarah said, taking a steadying step forward. "That's where we'll find answers." The group moved cautiously, their footsteps steady, their eyes darting nervously at the strange distortions in the air. The dead zone wasn't just a physical challenge anymore. As they walked deeper into the landscape, Sarah could see the air around them warping, bending like heat rising off the pavement. But this wasn't heat, which something far stranger. The very fabric of space seemed to twist and distort, creating a ripple that made it hard to focus on anything for too long. For the first time, Sarah wasn't sure of the ground she was standing on. Then, a loud crack echoed through the stillness. A violent jolt shook the ground beneath them, and the air hummed loudly as a new tear appeared in the earth, a rip that pulsed with light. The ground trembled, and from the rift, a deep, resonating voice echoed through the air. Not audible in the traditional sense, but felt in their bones. The alien team froze, their faces drained of color. Even Sarah, usually fearless in the face of danger, hesitated for a moment. This wasn't just another tremor. This was something far deeper, Something ancient. What was that? The Valori scientist whispered, his eyes wide with disbelief. This isn't just the dead zone. This is an opening. Sarah's heartbeat quickened. An opening? What do you mean? The Valori's voice shook as he answered. This isn't just a natural anomaly. It's a gateway, a breach in space-time. Something is coming through, and we need to move fast before it breaks through completely. The ground shook again, but this time, it wasn't just an earthquake. The earth itself seemed to ripple, warping as if it were made of liquid. The sky above them darkened, and the pulsating light from the rift grew brighter. Suddenly, the air around them felt thick, pressing in from all sides. The dead zone was alive, and it was responding to their presence. Sarah's instincts screamed at her to get away, but curiosity held her in place. Back to the ship, she ordered, her voice sharp. The calmness in her tone was an attempt to keep the team composed. They turned to retreat, but as they did, the ground split open again, this time wider. Something massive began to emerge from the rift. It wasn't a creature, not exactly, but a being of pure energy, a shape not bound by any physical laws. The energy being hovered above the ground, a swirling mass of light and shadows that seemed to form into a figure. Its shape was indistinct, constantly shifting, as if the very fabric of reality was bending around it. Sarah had never seen anything like it, but there was no mistaking the feeling in the air. This was something ancient, something far older than anything Earth had ever encountered. A presence that felt both alien and familiar, as if the dead zone had been waiting for this moment. For the moment when someone from the outside would break its fragile barrier. Move, Sarah shouted, pushing the team toward the ship. But before they could take more than a few steps, the energy being reached out with a burst of power. The air crackled, and the team was thrown off their feet, crashing into the rocky ground. A deep, resonating voice echoed through the air again, but this time, it wasn't just felt, it was heard, booming inside their minds. You should not have come here. The words chilled Sarah to her core, but something inside her, a mix of awe and terror, kept her moving. The dead zone wasn't just Earth's most dangerous location. It was the threshold of something greater, something that had been waiting. They had awakened it, and now, the real challenge was about to begin. The air was thick with energy, crackling and buzzing as though the very atmosphere around them was alive. Sarah could feel it vibrating against her skin, a pulse that matched the rhythmic hum of the rift behind them. Her team scrambled to get to their feet, shaken by the violent jolt that had thrown them off balance. But Sarah, always composed in the face of danger, was already moving forward. Her eyes locked on the entity that now hovered in front of them. The alien presence, a swirling mass of pure energy, shimmered with an almost ethereal glow. It didn't resemble any physical form, yet it exuded an undeniable presence, one that was ancient, powerful, and otherworldly. The dead zone had always been a place of danger, a landscape where Earth's most lethal forces came to life. But this was something far beyond anything Sarah or the alien team had ever prepared for. The energy being's voice echoed once again, but this time, it was even more commanding. It resonated deep within their minds, almost as though it bypassed speech altogether and connected directly to their thoughts. Why do you disturb the slumber of the dead? The words felt like a shockwave, pushing against Sarah's chest. She swallowed hard, trying to keep her composure. It wasn't the first time she'd encountered the unknown, but this was different. This wasn't some dangerous animal, or an out-of-control storm. This was an entity. Something with purpose. The alien team stood in stunned silence, some of them trembling, their weapons useless against the being before them. But Sarah knew, without a doubt, that fear wasn't going to get them out of this. She wasn't sure what the being was or why it had chosen now to appear, but there was no turning back now. We're not here to disturb anything, Sarah said, her voice steady as she took a cautious step forward. We're just trying to understand, We didn't mean to wake you. The being flickered, its shape twisting in unnatural ways, becoming sharper at the edges, almost like an evolving shadow. It pulsed again, louder this time, and the force of it made Sarah's legs almost buckle. The air seemed to compress, the very ground underfoot trembling as the entity responded. Understand. The voice reverberated. You dare to understand the forces that lie beneath the surface of this world. You, whose species has only just learned to tame fire. What you have awakened is beyond your reckoning. Sarah's heart raced, but she didn't flinch. Her eyes locked onto the shifting form, her mind racing. The dead zone wasn't just an environmental anomaly, was the cradle of something much larger, something far older than Earth itself. And now, humanity had disturbed it. The Zorath delegate, who had been cowering behind Sarah, finally gathered his courage and spoke up. What are you? What do you want with us? There was a pause, a silent flicker of energy that passed through the team like a gust of wind. The entity seemed to be contemplating the question. Then, its form blurred into a new shape, its presence growing more oppressive. I am the keeper of the ancient places, the guardian of Earth's greatest secrets. You have opened the door to what was never meant to be known by your kind. Sarah's mind spun. Keeper, guardian. She had always known the dead zone held something powerful, but this was a level of danger far beyond her understanding. Something, or someone, had been watching Earth for millennia, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. And it seemed like that moment had come. Why now? Sarah asked, her voice quiet but demanding. Why reveal yourself to us now? The energy being flickered again, its form becoming more defined as it responded. You, humans, are not like the others. Your species is curious for your own good. You seek to understand what should remain hidden. You awaken what you cannot control. Sarah's blood ran cold as the words hit her. The reality of the situation was beginning to settle in. Humanity's thirst for knowledge, for discovery, for adventure, it had led them to this very moment. And now, it seemed that their curiosity was going to have consequences. But what do you want from us? The Zorath delegate asked, his voice trembling. Nothing. The entity's voice was a wave of calm, though it carried an undeniable weight. It is not what I wanted, is what you will do next that matters. You have already awakened what was dormant, but you still do not understand the power you have. Disturbed. I can allow you to leave, but only if you do not seek to open the rest of what lies beneath. Sarah's mind raced as she processed the entity's words. It wasn't threatening them, not exactly, but the warning was clear. The dead zone was not just a dangerous place. It was a nexus of power. The entity before her was a part of that. Power, a force that had existed long before humanity had even risen from the dust. We didn't come here to take anything, Sarah said, her voice firm. We came to understand. We were just curious. The energy being pulsed again, as though considering her words. Then, it shifted, moving closer. For a moment, Sarah thought it would swallow them whole, but instead, it simply hovered, its glowing form brighter now than ever before. The dead zone's chaotic hum seemed to fade, replaced by a strange, eerie silence. Curiosity is not the problem. The voice was softer now, almost sorrowful. It is what you choose to do with it that will decide your fate. The atmosphere shifted once more, the air around them growing heavier, as though the very planet was watching them. Sarah's heart raced. She didn't know what the entity was asking, but she could feel it. There was something it wanted them to understand, something they hadn't yet grasped. Before Sarah could respond, the entity spoke one final time. Leave this place. Take your knowledge with you. But remember, some doors are better left closed. With that, the entity faded, its form dissipating into the shimmering air, leaving behind an unsettling silence. The dead zone was still. The rift in the earth sealed itself, and the strange energy that had pulsed through the land seemed to retreat back into the depths from which it had emerged. The team stood in stunned silence. The energy that had once been so oppressive was now gone, leaving behind only the oppressive stillness of the dead zone. Sarah took a deep breath and turned to the team, her eyes reflecting the gravity of what they had just witnessed. She wasn't sure what had just happened, but she knew one thing for sure. Earth's dead zone was no longer just a curiosity for science. It was a warning that humanity had no idea what they were truly capable of awakening. "We need to get out of here," Sarah said quietly, her voice carrying the weight of the moment. "And we need to make sure no one else tries to find out more." Not yet. The alien team followed her lead, silently making their way back to the ship. As they ascended back into the atmosphere, Sarah glanced back at the dead zone below them. She didn't know what had just happened, or what lay beneath the surface of Earth's most dangerous place. But one thing was clear: humanity was no longer just a curious species looking for adventure. They had awakened something far older, and now they would have to face the consequences of their curiosity.